Yes, thank you. Meanwhile, back on Capitol Hill, Congress failed to reauthorize FISA Section 702 on Friday, which is considered one of the premier intelligence gathering tools for America's spy agencies. The controversial program allows the intelligence community to see who is communicating with whom via phone, email, or text of foreign targets outside of the United States. But many times Americans are swept up incidentally, which many constitutional scholars see as a violation of the Fourth Amendment, providing protection from unreasonable searches and seizures by government. The failure to pass the FISA extension came after President Trump installed William Pulte as acting director of national intelligence, causing bipartisan blowback on Capitol Hill. On Thursday, President Trump nominated former SEC Chairman Jay Clayton for the position to replace Tulsi Gabbard. Majority Leader John Thune joined me this week on Mornings with Maria on Fox Business to explain why the Senate has not advanced more of the president's priorities. The president is calling on you to immediately fire the Senate parliamentarian, Elizabeth McDonough, to clear the way for passage of the Save America Act. Let me get your take on this. I mean, the president wrote on Truth Social, we have every right to change her and should do so immediately. As long as she's there, we will never get our desperately needed Save America Act approved and put into full force and effect. Is that true, Senator? I mean, America, this is an 80-20 issue, right? People want to be able to have rules in place that you show ID, that you have proof of citizenship to vote. How come we can't get this across the finish line?
Well, because we don't have the votes. And for me, it's a function of math. And we are, and it's a popular issue with the American public, but the Democrats in the Senate have block voted against many of the things you just mentioned, and we have put those votes on the floor. The issue with respect to the parliamentarian is one where, even under reconciliation, it has to be principally about budget and not policy.
Is there anything more you could be doing to stop the Democrats from upending President Trump's agenda? I mean, when you look at just 2 weeks ago when you all left and you had a June 1st deadline to deliver that to the president's desk, the reconciliation on immigration, and you didn't. Was that because of the anti-weaponization fund? Was it because of the ballroom? Was it because the president supported Ken Paxton? What was it?
Well, I think it was probably at that point a combination of all the above. But I do think the announcement of the weaponization fund, timing-wise, was very detrimental to consideration of the reconciliation bill. There were, as you probably heard, we had a very raucous meeting with Todd Blanche in which he came in and answered questions, but there were a ton of Republican senators who were prepared at that point to vote for amendments on the floor on that issue. And we felt like rather than proceed and lose on the floor, we wanted to do our work and ensure that when we brought it to the floor that we could prevail on a lot of these amendment votes. And ultimately we did. But I guess I would say that, you know, you have to, the calculation I have to make and our team has to make is, do we have 50 votes? Can we win? And it's a function of math. And obviously the president wants things done, some of which, you know, we've tried to do through reconciliation, some of which have to get done through regular order. And when you have to go through regular order, it's a 60-vote threshold in the Senate. And as I said, there aren't anywhere close to the requisite number of votes to change that, notwithstanding the president and others out there who are clamoring for that. It's just not going to happen. So we've got to deal in the real world. And if we had put that bill on the floor before that break, we would have lost.
Yeah. You had a conversation and talked with President Trump about the Texas primary race. You wanted him to support John Cornyn. He ended up supporting Ken Paxton. Will you get behind Ken Paxton and support him?
Absolutely. I mean, I met with him last week. We've been in touch, obviously, working with his campaign. We have to keep Texas red. It is essential to protecting and preserving our majority in the United States Senate. If we lose Texas, we're in big trouble. So, you know, obviously, John Cornyn is somebody that's admired and respected in our conference. And yes, I made my arguments to the president on his behalf. He's, in my view, a very effective conservative senator for the state of Texas, but now we've got to get behind Ken Paxton.
It seems like the Democrats will just use any excuse to stop the president. Now it's Bill Pulte. They don't, I mean, Hakeem Jeffries said over the weekend he will not support the extension of Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. That expires this week, FISA, unless the president withdraws his nomination for Bill Pulte. And you say?
Well, that's an irresponsible position on behalf of the Democrats. Another irresponsible position, and it goes along with open borders, defund the police, sanctuary cities. Now we're going to defund the intelligence gathering capability that has been responsible for 90% of the drug busts that we've had, and has prevented terrorist attacks. It is a tool. It's a national security tool. It needs to be reauthorized. The Democrats have indicated, and they did. We moved to proceed to it last week. They block voted against it. We've got to take care of the business of national security. If we don't get that right, the rest is conversation. And the Democrats right now are dug in over this Pulte issue, and it's an irresponsible position to take.
Why are they so dug in, Senator?
Well, I mean, I think they view him as part of, quote, weaponization at the housing agencies, and are at least fearful, or they're saying that this is, they think he'll do this in the intelligence world. These things are totally unrelated.
Do you support a $1.5 trillion defense budget in 27?
I don't. I support it conceptually. As a practical matter, we can't get there that fast, but we do need to move in that direction. If we're asking all these European nations to up their defense spending in NATO, and so we've got to do the same.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.